You wake up in your tiny cabin and press the button opening the hatch. Blue, your crewmate, is already up and waiting for you to come help him in the engine room. You go along the ship's corridor together, chatting about nothing. But the alarm goes off, cutting your conversation short. You both start running and crash into the engine room. You look around and see a huge hole in one of the liquid helium tanks, as if something blew up next to it. Cold liquid is pouring out on the floor, freezing it instantly. Blue runs to the storage locker to take a protective suit, but you notice a shadow slipping out of the room through the back door. You run after it and into another hall. After making a few turns, you come upon 3 other crewmates, Purple, Yellow, and Green. They're arguing about something, but stop the moment they see you in the corridor. You ask them if they've seen someone running past, but they all shake their heads. However, you realize one of them is lying. Who? It's Green. Look at his boots. There's ice on one of them that hasn't melted yet. He must have stepped into the liquid helium. You accuse Green of sabotage, but he turns around and starts running away. The 3 of you chase him, but he suddenly disappears after turning around the corner. You look around wildly and notice the door to the lab is slightly ajar. You head there and open it with your foot, not entering yet. From the hall, you see shards of glass strewn across the floor. You come inside warily and gasp in horror. The reinforced glass tank is smashed. The strange creature you found a week ago has broken loose. Glancing around the lab, you notice something else is off. What exactly? Look down there, in the corner, among the alien shrubs. It's not a sprout, it's a human hand. You rush to the spot and tug it. Your crewmate Green is lying among the plants, unconscious. The creature must have jumped him from behind and knocked him out. But then it dawns on you that it must have taken the shape of Green itself. You ask Yellow and Purple to take Green to the medical ward while you're going to search for the creature. Blue joins you, huffing. He's dealt with the leak. The 2 of you start running when some loud noise grabs your attention. You run to its source, and it seems to be coming from the security room. You go inside and see the room's completely dark and empty, aside from a set of monitors on the wall. But you feel there's something wrong. Look at the monitors and try to figure it out quickly. Yes, the right monitor in the middle row is showing the same sequence over and over again. You realize this monitor shows the corridor leading up to the bridge. The creature wants to take control of the ship. You and Blue rush to the place, calling the rest of the crewmates on the go. You meet with Yellow and Purple near the door to the bridge. You enter, looking around and expecting to be jumped at any moment. Suddenly, the lights go off. You hear a gasp and something heavy falls on the floor. The lights turn on again and you see Purple lying on the floor unconscious. But there's nobody but you 4 on the bridge. Can you figure out who knocked Purple out? It was Blue. Look, there are only 3 fingers on his right hand. He must have transformed it to hit Purple over the head, but forgot to change it back fast. You and Yellow stand side by side, watching Blue's every move. It seems to be the final showdown between you and the creature. But then, boom! Something hits the spaceship from outside, and you lose balance, falling on the floor. When you raise your eyes at Blue again, you see him standing, eyes wide in shock, staring into the outer space behind the front screen of the ship. You trace his gaze and see another spaceship. Inside, there are 2 creatures that look exactly like the one you found on that distant planet you visited a week ago. You catch Blue's gaze and feel like something's tugging you forward and up, faster and faster, until you realize you're being pulled into a swirl of the creature's memories. You wake up and see nothing but darkness around you. It's not your cozy cave. Someone took you from home. You get up and slide around to get some impression of where you are. It seems to be a sack with no doors or windows, just the walls, floor, and ceiling, all made of solid stone blocks, and some small plants pushing through here and there. But there has to be some way out. See if you can find it. Gotcha. That little patch of grass over there. See? It's swaying as if in the wind. There must be air blowing from there. You quickly come over and start touching the wall. One of the blocks gives in, and the entire section of the wall slides up. You find yourself in a long and dimly lit corridor. You glide forward as fast as you can until you come across a metal wall with a door and a security panel next to it. You pull the door handle, but it's obviously locked. You know the type of panel here. You need to insert one of your limbs into 3 colored slots in the correct order, and you only have one attempt with such locks. You almost panic when you see something scratched beneath the panel. It's a note that says, "Blue isn't last, red is first, yellow is a lie." You feel encouraged and try to guess the code. What is it? You shove your limb first into the red slot, then into the yellow one, and finally into the blue one. The door slides open. You sigh with relief. You were right to look at the colors of the scratches in the end. But then the alarm goes off. Red flashing above your head, you rush down the next corridor until you reach some shelf. You see a ladder above you, but there seems to be no way to bring it down. You hear voices behind you. There's no time to waste. How can you reach the ladder? Flashes of red help you out. Each time they come on, they reveal an otherwise invisible lever on your left. You pull it with the next flash, and the ladder slowly goes down. You don't wait for it to descend all the way and jump, climbing and pulling another lever on your way. The ladder slides back up. This will give you at least a little time ahead of your pursuers. You climb all the way up and shove the trap door above you with all your weight. It flies outward, and you find yourself in the middle of a desert. You shut the trap door again and start running, no matter where, just as far away from here as possible. You run, trip, fall, get back up, and continue running. You go on like this until you finally exhaust yourself and just drop on the hot ground. Consciousness leaves you, and the world fades away. The next thing you remember is waking up in a weird glass jar of some kind, and a creature in a green suit standing with its back to you. You gather all your strength and shove the glass, breaking out of the jar. The green creature turns around in surprise, but you're already upon it, embracing its shape and memories. So, you're on an alien spaceship. You have to take control of it and get back home. You feel tugged again, and your mind returns to your own body. You look at Blue and see pleading in his eyes. You look at the creatures in the other spaceship, turn back to Blue, and nod in agreement. Yes, you'll help this creature go home. A young woman went to another town to look for a better job. She promised her mother she would come and visit her often. But 4 months passed, and she still didn't come home. Her mother missed her very much. One day, in the middle of winter, the woman shouted, "April is here!" How is it possible? April was her daughter's name. She finally came to visit her family. It's usually under you. Take away its first letter, and it'll be above you. Take away its first 2 letters, and you won't see it. What is it? It's a chair, which can transform into hair and air. Look at this picture and try to understand what's wrong with it. Why would this young lady put a pair of boots on the table and a saw in the fridge? How about this image? Does anything strike you as odd? There's a snowman in the oven and a fish in the toaster. Dennis, Maria, and Julie were at a party. They decided to play a game. There were 5 hats, 2 red ones and 3 yellow ones. The friends closed their eyes, took random hats, and put them on their heads. Then they opened their eyes and looked at one another. Each of them had to guess what color the hat on their head was. Dennis and Julie said they didn't know, but Maria exclaimed that she knew the color of her hat. What color was it? It was yellow. Maria saw that Dennis and Julie were wearing red hats, and she knew there were only 2 of those. You can't share it until you take it. What is it? It's a photo. You see a combination of letters OTTFFSS. What should be the next 3 letters in the line? They should be ENT. These are the first letters of the names of the numbers from 1 to 10. Michael was walking along the street when a sealed envelope landed near his feet. The guy picked it up. Inside, there was a key and a note. It said, "Help, 323." Michael entered the building. Soon, he found a door number 323 and used the key to open it. He saw a man near the open window. He was gagged and tied to a chair. Once free, the man exclaimed, "2 men broke into my office, tied me up, and took all the money from my safe. Luckily, my hands were free. I managed to write this note and throw it together with the key out the window." Michael didn't believe the man and called the police. Why? The envelope was sealed. How could the man do it if he was gagged? It can never be thrown, but it can be caught. People are always looking for ways to lose it. What is it? It's a cold. 2 teams were playing soccer against each other. Each of the teams scored 2 goals in total. And still, it wasn't a tie. One team won and the other lost. How come? One of the teams scored an own goal. Young but very popular blogger Eric wrote his first book. It was a huge success. The guy was preparing for his first book signing. He was very excited and nervous, so he took a break to steady his nerves in a quiet corner. But even at 6 p.m., when the meeting was supposed to start, Eric was nowhere to be seen. In 10 minutes, a security guard found him lying on the floor in the bathroom. Someone had hit the writer on the head. The police had 3 suspects. Angela, his agent, said she had been solving some urgent organizational issues. Frank, one of the fans, said he had been a great lover of Eric's books for years. He wouldn't do anything to harm the writer. And Patrick, the security guard, said he had been doing his job, keeping the fans away from the entrance. Who hit Eric? It was Frank. It was Eric's first book. Frank couldn't possibly be reading his books for years. Look at these guys carefully. Who is a fake fireman? It's the guy on the right. He's not wearing a helmet and doesn't have a special bag. Plus, his pants aren't part of the uniform. You have 3 empty cups and 10 sugar cubes. You need to distribute these sugar cubes between the cups so that each of them contains an odd number of cubes. Put 3 sugar cubes in the first cup and 3 cubes in the second one. After that, put the remaining 4 cubes and the second cup in cup number 3. Now, the first cup has 3 sugar cubes, and the second one has 3 sugar cubes too. As for the third cup, it has 7 sugar cubes, 4 of its own and 3 in the second cup. 2 roommates, Deborah and Rachel, were walking home after doing their weekly grocery shopping. Deborah kept complaining about how heavy her bags were. Then Rachel told her, "I don't understand why you're upset. If you gave me one of your bags, I would have twice more bags than you do. And if I gave you one of mine, we would have the same number of bags." How many bags were the girls carrying? Rachel had 7 bags, while Deborah was only carrying 5 bags. Detective Black's assistant, Josh, was late for work. When he arrived, he told his boss the following story. "I was driving along the highway when I saw an unconscious man lying on the left side of the road. I picked him up and took him to the nearest hospital. Finally, he came to his senses. He told me he had been pushed out of the moving vehicle. The bag and all of his money and documents were left inside." But Detective Black said the man was lying. How did he figure it out? If the man had indeed been pushed out of the car, he would have been lying on the right side of the road, not the left one. Kenneth was starving. He found a nice diner that served burgers and bought one. After a waiter brought him his order, Kenneth went to the bathroom to wash his hands. But when he came back, his burger was gone. The guy looked around the diner and understood who had taken his lunch. Can you figure it out? It's the young woman with a dog sitting at her feet and sniffing the air. If she was just drinking coffee, which is what she's pretending to do, the dog wouldn't be so interested in her. Mary was walking through the park when she spotted a hungry dog. The woman decided to share her snack with the animal. Unfortunately, there was a stream between her and the pooch. She squatted down to attract the dog's attention and showed it the food. The animal was next to her in no time. There was no bridge over the stream, and still the dog wasn't wet. How is it possible? It happened in the winter, and the stream was frozen. A rich entrepreneur disappeared from his office. The only thing he left behind was a note with the numbers 6, 4, 9, 10, and 11, and a calendar. The police have 5 suspects: James, Kevin, Carol, Jason, and Laura. Who knows something about the man's disappearance? It's Jason. The numbers mean months of the year, and the first numbers of these months make up the culprit's name, Jason. Matthew bought a new smartphone and a phone case. He paid $310. The gadget cost $300 more than the case. How much did Matthew pay for the phone? He paid $305. Tony was hosting a party. 3 hours after it started, several guests came up to the guy. They asked where they could charge their phones. Unfortunately, there was only one socket in Tony's house. The guy checked all the power strips he had. Help him figure out how many phones he can charge at a time. Tony can charge 8 phones. Look, one strip has its cord cut. The strip with one socket is literally useless. One of the strips doesn't have a cord whatsoever. Another has no hole for a plug. Plus, one socket on each of the 2 strips will be taken by the plugs from the others. A rich businessman called the police. When he arrived at his office in the morning, he remembered he had left a bunch of important documents in his safe at home. He sent his secretary, John, to bring them. But the guy called half an hour later. He said the safe was open. The documents were still inside, but all the money had disappeared. The police examined the businessman's home office. They tried to find some fingerprints. Nothing at all. The detective had 3 suspects: the secretary, the businessman's nephew, Mark, and the housekeeper. The secretary said he had called his boss as soon as he had seen the safe. Mark said, "I opened the door for John, then I went to my room and found out about the accident only after John called me." The housekeeper told the police she had been very busy with her chores and hadn't been to the office since the previous evening. Who took the money? It was the secretary. There were no fingerprints in the room, but John was there and definitely touched different things. If he hadn't been guilty, he wouldn't have wiped his fingerprints off. Can you find a dino that is different than the rest? Right, it's this one. Uh-oh, someone stole expensive jewelry from Mrs. Doris's hotel room. It happened at around 6 a.m. When the police came, the hotel owner told them that there was a heavy snowfall early in the morning. It destroyed all the evidence. Suddenly, one of the police officers spotted an infamous criminal. He had been accused of committing several burglaries, but always managed to get away with it. The man denied being at the hotel at that time. "I only came a half hour ago," he claimed. The police officers immediately understood he was lying. How? There's a thick layer of snow on the criminal's car. If he had been driving to the hotel, there would be no snow on the hood. It would have melted or got blown away by the wind. And since it's sunny now, it can't be new snow. You are wandering through the forest, trying to find the way to a bus station. Suddenly, you meet a man. He tells you that soon you'll see a crossroads. There will be a post with several signboards. The right signboard will lie, and the left one will tell the truth. A bit later, you indeed see this post. The right sign on it says, "To the bus station," and the left one reads, "To the forest." Where is the station? If the right sign lies and the left sign will lead you back to the forest, go straight and you'll get to the station. Damien is an artist. Recently, he has had problems with money. That's why he had to sell the only valuable thing he had, an expensive painting of a 17th century artist. The man who bought it showed the canvas to his friend Matthew, a police detective. After looking at the picture carefully, Matthew asked for Damien's address. He visited the artist and asked him where he had gotten the painting from. The man said, "My granddad left it to me." "You're lying," the detective said. "You painted it yourself." How did he figure it out? There are electrical power lines in the picture, but they didn't exist in the 17th century. The police found out a diamond smuggler was going to leave the country through the largest airport in the city. They didn't know who it was and where this person was flying. That's why they searched the baggage of everyone who was departing on that day. Most people were angry and nervous, but one man was calm and polite. The airport security officers didn't find anything suspicious in his suitcase. But after the man got the sticker checked on his baggage, police asked him to come with him. They suspected he was the smuggler they were looking for. How did they understand it? While the security officer was putting the sticker on his suitcase, the man surreptitiously put his coat inside. The diamonds must be hidden in this coat. Mr. Carter, a rich man who collected antiques, asked Detective Morris to visit him. When the detective arrived, the collector said, "I've just got a precious statuette, but I need to go away on business for a week, and I'm afraid someone will break into my house. My neighbors are so suspicious." Of course, the statuette is insured, but still. Detective Morris had some other urgent things to do. He promised to come back in the evening to figure out how to deal with the situation. But when he arrived several hours later, Mr. Carter rushed to him. "I was away for an hour, no more. I drove my sister to the doctor, but when I came back, the statuette was gone." Detective Morris didn't believe the collector. Why? When he left the house in the afternoon, he noticed an apple lying in front of the left part of the gate. It's still there. But for a car to drive through, both parts of the gate have to be open. This means that Mr. Carter lied about leaving his home by car. A man with a bandage around his head came to a police station. "I was hitchhiking when the car stopped. The driver asked me to check if one of the tires was flat. I bent over to look, and he hit me on the head. When I came to my senses, I found out he had taken all my money and cell phone. I remember he had a big car, large eyebrows, and a mustache." The police had a suspect. They found him in a cafe. But the man said it couldn't be him. He changed the tires on his car 2 weeks ago, and since then, the car had been parked near the cafe. The detective realized the man was lying right away. How? There's a no parking sign near the cafe. No car could be staying there for 2 weeks. Mr. and Mrs. Williams had to go on a business trip. It was a sudden and urgent matter. They didn't have time to take the money they had to the bank. That's why they decided to hide it under the doormat. When they returned, the money was gone. 3 people visited the apartment while the owners were away. The Williams' neighbor, he helped them fix the TV. A housekeeper came to clean the apartment, and an electrician visited to deal with some lighting problems. Who took the money? It was the housekeeper. She was the only person who had any reason to look under the doormat. Laura took part in an experiment. She was locked in a room and had to crack a riddle to get out of it. On the table, she found a note with the numbers 11, 69, 96, and 88. The girl needed to figure out what they had in common. Can you do the same? All these numbers can be read in the same way if you position them upside down. A man on a motorbike crashed Mr. Ruby's store window, grabbed a dozen expensive watches, and drove away. When the police arrived, Mr. Ruby told them he was almost sure it had been his nephew, Patrick. The officers went to visit the guy. Because of a heavy downpour, they got there in only an hour. Patrick was at home, together with his friend. "Look at the weather! I haven't been outside since yesterday." Patrick's friend confirmed his words. But the police didn't believe this story and arrested Patrick. Why? The guy's helmet is hanging on his motorbike. If it had been there since the previous day, it would be filled with rainwater now. Look at these 2 girls and their fridges. One of them has never had enough money until recently. A month ago, she won the lottery. Which girl is that? It's the girl on the left. High heels, a flashy dress, and a fridge filled to the brim. She looks like a person who has finally managed to get their hands on big money. Look at these people lounging near a swimming pool. They all seem to be wealthy, but in fact, only one of them is a millionaire. The girl sitting under the palm tree is wearing a lot of gold jewelry. But all this gold is fake. It leaves greenish marks on her body. The girl walking past the swimming pool is wearing sandals with a large logo on them. But the name of this brand is written wrong, so it's fake. The guy who's lying on the floating mattress is playing a game on his phone. But instead of an apple, there's a strawberry on his gadget. The man who's watering the plants is the millionaire we're looking for. There's a Mercedes keychain hanging out of his pocket. He also left a $100 tip for the waiter. Ethan and his girlfriend Anne went to explore a cave and got lost. After some time, they came across 2 people, a man and a woman. The man, bearded and rough-looking, had a shovel in his hands. "I've been stuck here for a week. I know how to get to the surface, but I need your help. Come with me." The young woman exclaimed, "Don't trust him. He's a criminal. Follow me. I've been here longer than him. I know where the exit is." Who should the guys believe? Ethan and Anne decided to follow the man. If the girl had been in the cave for more than a week, why does she look so tidy and has fresh flowers in her hair? Several gold bullion bars were stolen from a bank. The police figured out where they could be and who could take them. Without wasting time, they arrived at the main suspect's house. But since they were in a hurry, they forgot to bring a warrant. The man told them he wouldn't allow them to search his house. "Come back with a warrant and we'll talk." An hour later, the police officers came back with the needed document. They thoroughly searched the house and garden but didn't find the gold. Suddenly, one of the officers exclaimed, "I know where he hid the gold." Have you figured it out? The gold is in the swimming pool. When the police visited the man for the first time, the level of water in it was lower. A man shaves every day, but still has a long and thick beard. How is it possible? The man is a barber, and he shaves his clients. One day, a famous soccer coach went missing right from the locker room. The detective has 3 suspects, and all of them are from the coach's team. Brandon says that after training, he stayed on the pitch to practice a bit more. He hasn't been to the locker room yet. Andrew swears that straight after the training, he went outside to meet with his girlfriend. And James claims that when he was leaving the locker room, the trainer was still there. Who is the criminal? It's Andrew. He said he hadn't been to the locker room yet, but he's wearing not the uniform, but his street clothes. 5 people were asked to step over a pencil that was lying on the floor, but for some reason, none of them managed to do it. Have you figured out why? The pencil was placed near the wall. How tricky.
How many shades of gray can you count in this bar? The correct answer is 11. Nah, just kidding. The bar in the middle is one constant color. The background makes you see more than one shade of gray here. You can see it if you cover the spaces above and below the bar. Can you tell which of the surfaces is darker? Is it A or B? Surface A only seems obviously darker. In reality, they are exactly the same color. Cover the middle of the drawing with your hand to check it. Scientists still can't explain this illusion. One theory says this might be because of how your brain interprets the signals from the photoreceptors in your eyes. The most active cells reduce the activity in neighboring ones, and this creates a contrast that's not in fact real. Now, find the darkest square in this picture. Whichever square you chose, you can't be right. They're all the same color, just set against different backgrounds. Moving on, do you pick white or black pieces? I'll let you choose. Well, you can't pick black or white here because the pieces are all the same color. The background and the way you perceive light explains this illusion. How many colors do you see here? I clearly see 4. It's actually 2. Red and green, one shade of each. You get the illusion there are different colors here because some of them are surrounded by white and some by green boxes. By the way, white isn't a color in scientific terms. It's the presence of all colors. That's why we don't count it as one. Here's another one for you. Which side is darker? Nope, it's not the right side. It's one shade of red that seems darker on the right because of the black background. Oh no, This table is tilting to the right and about to turn over. Or is it? No worries, it's perfectly stable. The slanted lines create this tilting effect. Both rectangles are parallel. You can check it with a ruler. How many faults do you see in this square? The correct answer is 0. This square by Walter Ehrenstein is perfect. It seems curved because it's placed inside a pattern of concentric circles. Would you prefer a rectangular or square table? No matter which one you chose, just take any. They're of exactly the same shape and size. Here's a classic Ponzo illusion. Which of the green lines is longer? It's the one in the foreground. Just kidding, they're the same length. This illusion works because your brain interprets the image with perspective, and it's just a simple 2D image. How about a ride? Do you think this Ferris wheel is moving clockwise or counterclockwise? Sorry guys, the ride is closed today. Any movement you see here is just an illusion. Here's an easy one for you. Try to quickly say the color of these words. Hey, it takes forever to focus on the colors without reading them. The right half of your brain is trying to name the colors, and the left half is trying to make you say the words. This is known as the Stroop effect, and it's used as a test for jobs where concentration is a must. Can you count all the gray dots at the intersections in this grid? The correct answer is 0. This is a Hermann grid illusion. Your brain makes you think they are gray dots at the intersections because of the dark surroundings. If you look closer, all the dots are gone. Another good old classic, Necker cube. This was discovered in the 19th century. Do you think the blue wall is in the block or on the block? Is it the back wall or the side wall? There's no correct answer, so keep guessing. Is this just a set of some geometrical shapes, or does it have a secret message? Eureka! That's the correct answer. Are you up for a helicopter ride? Pick the one with a longer line on top. It's impossible. They're equal in length, and the surroundings make you believe otherwise. Time for some magic. You can turn this negative photo into a full-color image with the power of your brain. Stare at the dots at the center of the girl's face for about 30 seconds. Now, quickly turn your eyes to the center X of the white image on the right of the woman's face. Blink several times. Do you see the image of a girl in full color? If not, try staring at the negative image a bit longer, or sit closer or further from your computer monitor. This illusion works when your rods and cones get overstimulated. The cells viewing the darkest part of the image are least affected by this. When you look away, they react the strongest, and you can see the reverse of the original image. Some optical illusions with a double meaning can tell a lot about your personality. What do you see here? If it's a profile of a man to you, you're pretty realistic and take things for what they are. You trust others and easily rely on them at work and in your personal life. You mix with new people easily. If you notice the word liar, you always look for a hidden subtext in everything. It's not easy for you to trust others. Even when things are going just fine, you're always looking for some surprises coming your way. How many pandas do you see in this image? If it's just 2, you're an ambitious person focused on your goals. When you have a plan, nothing can take you off your course. You're direct and always say what you really think. If you saw 5 pandas or more, you're a really creative person. You always see the little things others might not notice. You get inspiration when you least expect it, even from basic everyday events. What does this one look like to you? If you see a huge eye on the ground, you're a settled person who's pretty content with their life. You have your home, job, and favorite places, and wouldn't give up this comfort for some unknown path. If you see a landscape with some deep green abyss or a volcano crater, you long for adventures. You can't wait to explore the world, and your biggest fear is settling down and not getting the chance to travel. Time for the next illusion. Those who see a face of a young girl here are pretty emotional and sentimental people. You miss someone or something that made you really happy and still can't let go. Try to accept the best is yet to come into your life. Those who see a young man staring at a landscape here are at the crossroads of their lives. You realize you need some changes to be happier, but you don't know what to start with. All roads are open to you. Just take that first step. Here's a really tricky one. If it looks like a landscape with a horseman to you, you're more extroverted than introverted. You enjoy your alone times, but mostly need the company of others to share with. You're fun, easygoing, and a great team player. If you see a wolf here, you must be more introverted than extroverted. You feel comfortable in your own company and aren't afraid to listen to yourself. You aren't afraid of responsibility and prefer to get all the credits for what you've done.
What color is this bag? This optical illusion is blowing people's minds. They can't agree if this handbag is blue or green. Around 63% of people see a green handbag, but the remaining 37% of people claim the bag is blue. So, which side are you on? How many tints of red can you see in this picture? There are only 4 tints of red in here, although it seems to be more. Look at this pattern very attentively. What colors are the dots in the green squares? And in the red ones? The dots are completely identical in color, but the background makes them look different. Is there a difference between blocks A and B? These blocks have similar colors and shapes, but your brain sees that square B is in the shadow, and it may assume that the square must be lighter than it really is. This perceptual phenomenon is called color consistency, and this process has nothing to do with the objects. Your eyes and brain tend to perceive the same color even under changing illumination. Still can't believe it? Check this out. Which one of these 2 blue shapes is brighter? This is another example of color consistency. The left shape appears to look darker than the right, although the color is the same. But the context makes them seem different. Look at the 4 squares in the boxes. Which one is the biggest? All squares are the same size, but lighter colors such as yellow and green appear larger. Choose which pieces you want to play with, black or white. No matter what you've chosen, you won't be able to play. These figures are completely identical, but the background plays tricks with your brain. Look at this picture very attentively. How much cake is there? Plus 1 piece or minus 1 piece? Let this remain a mystery because any answer can be correct. See, it depends on how you perceive this shape. Are you dizzy yet? Let's experiment with disappearing dots. Look at any part of the picture for some time. Blue dots will begin to blink and disappear. Now focus your eyes on some other spot in the picture. The blue dots will disappear in some other place, but when you concentrate, they will appear again. If you look at this picture for a while, the shapes will begin to move. But the picture is static. Animation? Magic? Nah, it's just your brain playing tricks with your perception. Look at the center of this picture for some time. Can you see that the color richness of these blue circles begins to change and flow? Observe this pattern for a while. These green stripes can't be parallel, right? Don't jump to conclusions, because they can. If we remove all additional objects that distract your vision, it will become obvious that the lines are parallel. Take a look at this colored grid. Can you see gray dots on the white stripes? The square's intersections are purely white, although you may notice flashing gray dots. Look at the picture very closely. Can you read what's written here? It says, "You're beautiful," and you really are, even if you couldn't see this inscription. Let's move on and complicate the task a little bit. Is it possible that these 4 circles have identical colors? This phenomenon is called the Munker illusion. In simple words, the framing color impacts your color perception more intensively compared to the central color. But if we reduce the saturation of the framing colors, the strength of the illusion reduces as well. Take a close look at this beautiful pattern. How many gray elements have you counted? The correct answer is 6. However, the shades of gray are very different. This is only noticeable if you remove the noise. Look at these karatekas. Which shadow is darker? The tint of both karateka's shadows may seem very different, but in reality, their colors are the same. You can see this clearly if you take a look at this picture. These St. Valentine's cards look quite similar, but what about the color of the hearts? No, these are 2 different shades of pink, but they look alike because of the background that tricks your brain. How many blue tints do you see in this picture? The picture demonstrates 5 different shades of blue. Each row of squares has a slightly different tint. The closer to the middle of the picture, the brighter the color gets. Only very attentive people can notice this difference. Optical illusions can create imaginary volume where it doesn't exist. Let's check your perception of depth. Take a look at this picture. Does it seem to you that the transition of colors creates the illusion of volume? This volume doesn't exist because it's a 2D picture. You can notice a similar effect here. Is the flower blooming from the center? This widening is also just your perception. The picture is static. Look at this pattern. What colors are the circles? How many did you count? Surprise! All circles are of identical colors. This pattern is very chaotic, but I'm sure that you see a hidden number. That's right, it's number 134. Watch out, there's a spider on the ground. Can you find it? It's hiding over here. Step away carefully if you don't want to spoil the weather. Which square is darker? Well, they're of the same color, see? There are 3 birds in this picture, and they're of the same color. Can you find them? This one is on the left and this one on the right, and the third bird is hiding over here. The contrast gradient of the sunset is confusing your brain. Moving on. Which one of the green circles is the biggest? None of them. All green circles are of the same size. Now, this one is a variation of a classic disappearance illusion. Close your left eye and look at the letter O. Did the letter X disappear? Now open your left eye, but close the right one and look at the letter X. Letter O should disappear as well. This trick is connected with a blind spot in your eye. When we look at common images, we usually don't even notice this blind spot because the human brain can fill in the blanks with imagination. Which line is longer, A or B? Well, they're of the same length. This illusion appears because your mind perceives this image in 3D space. That's why your brain tells you that the line which is closer to you must be shorter than the more distant one. Get ready to be surprised. How many cubes can you see? 6 or 7? Well, it depends on your point of view, right? If you count from top to bottom, then it's 6. But if you look from the bottom up, then 7. Not only colors can confuse you, but they can also disappear. Look at the center of the circle for a couple of seconds. The colored ring in the center will begin to disappear. Vision fatigue is one of the possible explanations of this phenomenon. How many colors can you see in this picture? Squares on the white background seem pink, while squares on the green background look darkish red. Ha, false. These squares are identical. Can you figure out which word is hidden here? That's right. It's the word smile. Which word is brighter? If we remove the grid, it will become obvious that both words are of the same color. Take a look at this complicated pattern for a few seconds. Can you see that blue squares at the intersections of red and green ones look dislodged? In reality, the side of the square is completely straight. This illusion is probably caused by the contrast of color transition. Not all people fall for this trick, though. Colorblind people usually see straight sides of the squares. What about you? These two grids are of different shades of blue. Or are they? In fact, the grids are of the same color, but the orange frame makes it look blue, while the red one makes its frame seem greenish. What about this picture? Is the blue star inside or outside of the cube? The truth is that the star is both inside and outside at the same time. This cube is just a 2D image that is drawn in a 3D perspective. It's flat, and that's why the star cannot be inside the cube. In 2D, such tricks are simply impossible.
Look at this picture. Can you spot which woman plans to go home by bus? This woman left her coat in a car, while the second woman is probably waiting for the bus. Can you identify which woman has spent more money on her home than the other, just by looking at their rooms? This room belongs to the woman who spent less money. She bought her furniture at a big discount. Look, you can still see price tags here. Kelly, Jackie, and Nancy are having weddings on the same day. Can you spot what dress is the most expensive? Although Kelly's dress looks fantastic, it's several sizes larger than she needs. She must have bought it at a sale, and there were no other sizes left. There are stains and holes on Jackie's dress, so it must be secondhand. Therefore, Nancy's dress is the most expensive. Let's check how good you are at spotting small details. Which bill is fake? This bill has an obvious mistake. What about these two? Can you spot a fake? This one. The portrait doesn't belong here. What about euros? Can you see any difference? This bill is fake. Its design doesn't match the original. Now check these bills. This one is fake. Look at the words. They don't belong here. Diana is a young and ambitious entrepreneur. She wanted to find investors for her business project, but she spent all her savings on research and didn't have enough money even to afford a ticket for a business conference. So she climbed through the toilet window. The conference manager caught her on camera and sent a guard to one of the rooms where Diana might be hiding. Help the guard determine which woman is Diana. Look, this lady's the only one who doesn't have a conference bracelet on her arm. A police officer noticed a criminal getting out of a window. The officer followed the criminal, but he was running too fast and managed to hide in one of the neighboring houses. Help the police officer identify where the criminal is hiding. There are no fresh traces around this house. No one walked around it for a while. There's a family in the second house. It would be impossible for the criminal to blend in. So, the criminal is probably hiding in the third house. Look at this house very attentively. How many ghosts do you see? That's right, 13. Susie decided to do a huge cleaning in her house. When her brother Tom returned from the gym, he screamed, ran out of the house, and began to dig in the garbage. Susie has accidentally thrown out his stuff that he still needed. Help Tom find these items in the trash. That's right, here they are. George and Vera went to a flea market. They are looking for a certain antique lamp as a gift for their grandmother. Help them make the right choice and avoid cheating. This lamp fully corresponds to the photo they have. Can you spot a ghost at this stage? It's hiding behind the curtain. Fred got a puppy and brought it to his home, which he shared with 4 other people. 6 months later, Fred left for a weekend to visit his parents. When he returned, the puppy was gone. He questioned his roommates. Lily said she had spent the entire weekend at her boyfriend's place. Jack said he'd been allergic to animals and couldn't stay around them even for an hour. Henry, who was to take care of the puppy, just couldn't find the pet in the morning. Who's lying? Jack. How did he live with the puppy for 6 months with his allergy? Can you guess the country? China. Can you guess the country? That's right, it's Belgium. Can you guess the country? It's Spain. Can you guess the country? Japan. And one more. Can you guess this country? That's right. That's Iceland. Lisa and Mia are two sisters who usually spend their vacation together on the beach because they adore surfing. But this time, they decided to go on a secret snowboarding adventure in the mountains right after Mia's birthday. The sisters didn't say a word to their family and friends. Soon after, they arrived at the ski resort. They disappeared. The police examined the car and found some gifts for Mia. Which gift is suspicious? Leah's gift is suspicious. Nobody knew that the sisters had headed to the ski resort. Can you read this quote? It says, either you run the day or the day runs you. Tim woke up in a creepy house. The Wicked Witch was making a potion in the kitchen. She saw Tim and said, "Here's my dinner. Take a seat. I'll be back in a minute." Tim began to look for the exit and found 3 doors, but there's something dangerous behind each of them. A hungry wolf hid behind the first door, an evil vampire was standing behind the second door, and the third way was covered with fire. Help Tim escape safely. He needs to grab the garlic and walk through the second door. Garlic will scare away the vampire. Jill and Christy were jogging in the street. Suddenly, a taxi drove past and splashed both of them all over with water from a muddy puddle. The ladies decided to finish jogging for today, said goodbye, and went to do some laundry. Look at the picture attentively. Can you spot who of the 2 ladies is rich? Jill is rich. Her clothes say Prada, while Christy's clothes say Brada. Can you see any number in this picture? It's 2:17. See? Well done! Jake threw a birthday party for his brother Gregory, but when he went to the kitchen to grab the cake, he saw a creepy note in the fridge which said, "There's a ghost at your party." Jake ran to the living room to check the guests. Can you help him spot the ghost? This woman over here doesn't stand on her feet. Can you read this? It says Matrix. Jane woke up in a creepy laboratory. A mad scientist said, "I'm gonna let you go if you make the right choice," and showed her 3 doors. But each door hid danger. Behind the first door, she saw poisonous gas that will make her unconscious in 5 seconds. The second door hid acid that burns everything out in 5 seconds. And the third door hid a pool with water infected with a dangerous virus. Which door should Jane choose? The third door. She can walk across the water on her high heels without touching the water. Look at these people. Can you place an apple in such a way so all the people but one see it? Where do you place the apple? Do you see any secret spots in the room? You have 10 seconds to figure it out. You don't need any special spots to fulfill the condition. Just place an apple on someone's head. Let's have a brief personality test. Can you see any weird elements in this picture? What detail did you notice first? A. A snowman holding a mug with a hot drink in its hand. B. A skier wearing a diver's costume and mask. C. A peacock hiding in the snow-covered trees in the background. If your choice is A, you're probably a very practical person. You have the talent to create a cozy and beautiful environment for your friends and family. If you choose B, you're smart and witty. You know how to invest your money and time wisely and dedicate yourself to really important things. And if you spotted the peacock, you're probably attracted to mysticism and art. You have a great imagination and unusual talent to see the details that other people don't see. Let's play a brief game. Answer these questions and see the results at the end. Would you rather have tattoos all over your body or have piercings all over your body? Option A gives you 10 points, and option B gives you 20 points. Would you rather breathe with fire when you speak or breathe ice when you speak? If you chose A, give yourself 20 points, and B brings you 10 points. Would you rather have your own spaceship or have your own planet? 20 points for A and 10 points for B. Would you rather have none of your dreams come true or have all of your dreams come true at once? Option A brings you 10 points and option B 20 points. Would you rather laugh uncontrollably when sad or cry uncontrollably when happy? 10 points for A and 20 points for B. You're very responsible but anxious, or you live one day and trust your instincts. 10 points for A and 20 points for B. Do you care deeply about everything around you, or do you act and win without any doubts? 10 points for A and 20 points for B. You're ready to fight your corner, or you never show when you're hurt. 20 points for A and 10 points for B. Now, let's count your results. If your score is between 80 to 120 points, you have a calm and grounded personality. You can settle any conflict and bring peace, which is why your friends love you very much. It seems like you were born to lead, be responsible for others, and make things done. 120 to 160 points, you love adventures, and adventures love you. People admire your bright personality, even if they don't show that. A job in the field of entertainment, art, and tourism will be the perfect choice for you.
On Monday, Ava got into a car accident. She got a concussion and broke her leg. Still, the very next day, her colleagues saw her riding a bike, and she looked perfectly fine. How is it possible? Look, the girl who got in the car accident has a tattoo on her ankle. The girl on the bike doesn't have one. The girl on the bike is Ava's twin sister. Elio is a student living alone in his college dorm room. One Friday night, there is a party in the dorm, and everyone from campus was invited. In the middle of the party, Caden found Elio poisoned in his room. A detective arrived for investigation. The three main suspects were Amelia, Giselle, and Max. All of them denied entering Elio's room. Who is guilty? It must be Giselle. Look at the bed. There's an earring. And Giselle is only wearing one earring that looks the same. Looks like she'd been in the room. Ayla stayed after classes to finish a project with her classmates. She left to get some food from the vending machine, but she found that her wallet had been stolen when she returned. She reported it to the police. The students denied stealing anything. The detective carefully looked at them and realized who lied. Who? Ayla. She went to get some food, which means the wallet was with her and no one could possibly steal it from her. A rich lady, Ms. Geneva Bell, was having fun in a club. In the middle of a party, she felt someone stealing her $1 million diamond necklace, but the person disappeared immediately. She instructed the security not to let anyone out and call the police. When the detective arrived, the security man said he didn't let anyone out, but saw a man sneaking out through the back door. The guard was arrested. Why? Look, there's a huge lock on the back door. No one could leave through that door, so the security man lied. Mrs. Baker was living with her son Robert, who was a college student. She was working every day, and she didn't know that her son was skipping classes. One December morning, as usual, she left for work. When she returned, she realized that her son didn't drive to college, but she knew he had classes that day. How did she find it out? That night was snowfall. When Mrs. Baker left for work, Robert's car was covered in snow. When she returned, it was still covered in snow. If Robert had driven to college, he would have cleaned the car, or at least the windshield. Esme was having a walk in a forest. In the evening, she headed home. There was one path that would take her home, but she took the other one leading to the witch's house. The witch and her grandson, who was staying at his grandma's, welcomed Esme. This time it was Esme's turn to make up a riddle. If they don't solve it, they'll have to give her the cat. I have two classmates who are identical twins. Inez was born in 2003, but Betty was born in 2004. How is it possible? They are twins, but they were born on New Year's night. Inez was born right before midnight and Betty right after midnight. Can you tell which one of these men has a rich wife? The one on the left doesn't even have a wedding ring, so I'd say it's the man on the right. Okay, now look at these two. Who do you think has a dog? It's the guy on the left. Look, his shoes are all chewed. Must be his dog's job. Kaylin and Juliet are going to their friend's house to work on a group project. At least, that's what they told their parents. In reality, one of them is going on a date with her secret boyfriend, and she's going to meet him instead. Can you tell who? It's Kaylin. She's dressed too well for a study date, and no one normally wastes red lipstick for a group project. Amanda spent the whole summer in the countryside at her grandparents' house. Finally, she returned to her town, and two of her best friends came to the train station to meet her. Can you tell which one of the guys is secretly in love with her? Well, considering that the one on the left has flowers and candy for her, I'd say he probably likes her. Sydney and Louisa both failed their history test. Their mother grounded them and made them study all weekend. She was occasionally walking in the room to check on them, so she walked in again. Can you tell which teenager wasn't studying? It's Sydney. She's holding the book upside down. She must have grabbed it when she heard her mom walking in to pretend like she was studying. Look at these guys doing some housework. Who's not smart? That's the guy on the right. It's raining, but he's watering the flowers. Mrs. Riviera is a math teacher. She collected her students' homework, made them do a computer test, and started to grade the assignments during the class. She came across two very similar homework sheets and realized that one of the students copied the work of the other. Here are the students, Asher and Holden. Can you tell which one of them is the copycat? It's Asher. His hands are covered in fresh ink. which means he probably just did his homework right before the class. Mr. Reed came back home at night after another long shift. His wife was still up. He kissed her and went to bed. Mrs. Reed had been suspecting that her husband was cheating on her for a while already, and this time she wanted to know for sure. She decided to check his pockets. The next day, she told her husband that she knew he was cheating on her. Why? Look, there is a pair of keys in his pocket. His keys are hanging on the wall, so these are the keys from someone else's house. Ashley had a birthday party and she invited some friends over. Liliana didn't want to go, so she lied that her mom grounded her and made her clean the room. Ashley was sad but understanding about it. To make it up to her, the next day Liliana invited Ashley to her house to study together and to watch a movie in the evening. Ashley agreed, but at Liliana's house, she understood that she had lied to her. How? Liliana's room is still messy. If she had cleaned it the previous day, it'd be neat. A famous rich writer was living alone in a mansion and never went outside. The only people she ever saw were her cook, her gardener, and a cleaning man. One morning, before breakfast, the cleaning man found her poisoned in her room and called the police. The three of them were suspects. The cook was watching a cooking blog on YouTube. The cleaning man said he just came to start the job when he found the lady. The gardener was in the garden planting some flowers. Who poisoned the lady? It must be the cook. It happened right before breakfast, but he wasn't cooking anything. He knew the breakfast wouldn't be needed that morning. It was summer break, and Ariana's friends invited her to go camping. Ariana wasn't really into camping, but didn't want to admit that she'd rather stay at home and watch TV. So she said that her parents invited her to go to Greece. In reality, she stayed at home and was binge-watching TV shows. Her family sent her a vacation photo. Ariana photoshopped herself there and sent it to her friends. When her friends saw the picture, they realized that Ariana wasn't in Greece. How? Ariana photoshopped herself, but her friends noticed that everyone in the picture except for her cast a shadow. Hallie works at a gas station in a city suburb. It was calm and quiet there. One day, she only had 3 customers. The first one got something to drink. The second one got some chocolate bars, and the third one just paid for gas. One of them was a criminal, and Hallie reported him to the police. Who was the criminal, and how did she understand it? The second man paid with a $25 bill. Such a bill doesn't exist, which means he'd been printing money. It was September 17th, and Annika was finally going to Spain for her vacation. She was living alone, so she sent all of her plants and her cat to her friend's house. On September 27th, she came back home. When she walked in, she realized that someone was in her house while she was away. How did Annika understand it? Annika lived alone, but look, there's a tear-off calendar hanging on the wall. When she left, it was September 17th, but now it shows September 27th. This story happened a couple of centuries ago. Henry and Caroline were dating, but their families were against it. One day, Caroline's family decided to take her away to another city, but they didn't tell her which one. Henry and Caroline knew it was one of the 2 big cities nearby, Paris, which was on the left, or Berlin on the right. They agreed that Caroline would throw her scarf away when the train took off, and Henry would find her wherever she was. So here's where Henry found the scarf. Which way did the train go? If you throw something from a moving train, it flies in the opposite direction. Henry found the scarf on the right part of the train station, which means the train headed left to Paris. Spoiler, a couple of months later he found Caroline there, and they lived happily ever after.
Look at these squares. Which one is bigger, yellow or green? All these black and white squares usually confuse perception, but it becomes obvious that the green square is larger than the yellow one if we put them away. Eric is a police officer. One night, he was walking home from work and noticed a suspicious woman. She carried a huge bag nearby an expensive house. Eric questioned the woman. According to her, it was her house, and she carried some clothes she didn't need anymore to give away to her relatives. Eric arrested her immediately. Why? There are traces in the snow. Some footprints belong to Eric, and others to the woman. But the woman's footprints lead to the window. Why would she leave the house through the window if it really was her home? Therefore, she's a robber. Someone stole an expensive painting from a local museum. The guards locked all doors and windows in the building and called the police. Detective Roberts found 3 suspects among the museum visitors. George is an art student, and he was making sketches all day. Helen had a yoga class nearby and decided to check out the new exhibition, and Rick said he was just visiting the sights of the city as an ordinary tourist. Can you spot a robber among them? It's Helen. She hid the painting inside her yoga mat, and the rest of the guys have really small backpacks. Nina is an insurance agent. One day, her client Peter called her to an accident scene. He said that he had arrived at that area for a barbecue party and his friends would be there in 2 hours. He stopped and got out of the car. Suddenly, the car began to move and fell into the lake. But Nina didn't believe him. Why? She saw the footprints. He pushed the car into the lake himself. After dinner, billionaire Rick felt extremely bad. Doctors said that he had been poisoned. His private detective interrogated the cleaning lady, his wife, and the cook. Each of them claimed that they had nothing to do with the crime. The detective searched the house and found a jar with poison and a glove stained with poison. After studying the evidence very carefully, he realized who had poisoned Rick. How? The glove is left-handed, which means that the poisoner was left-handed. The only left-handed person is the cook. He holds a soup ladle in his left hand. Tom and Sarah were walking in a forest. Suddenly, a witch appeared in front of them. He grabbed Sarah and took her to a creepy castle. Tom rushed to the castle. He saw through a window that the witch turned Sarah into a frog. When the witch left the castle, Tom snuck inside to save Sarah. He found a spell book and opened it. There was a potion recipe to turn Sarah back into a human. Which ingredients should he add to the potion? Snail. Take away an S letter and you get a nail. An orange heart without a letter T turns into orange hair. Mr. Green is an old artist. He used to live alone, but he hired 3 nurses to help him around the house when he lost his sight. One day, one of the nurses found him unconscious in his bedroom. She called the ambulance. Police officers also arrived and questioned all the 3 nurses. Wendy said that Mr. Green asked her to read him a novel, and then she left him to cook dinner. Amy said that she had played video games with Mr. Green, and he seemed pretty healthy. Diana said, "I came over and found him unconscious," and called the police right away. Who's lying? Amy. Mr. Green was blind, and he couldn't be playing video games. 4 scientists went to a physics conference in one car. It was raining all day, heavily. They drove into a long tunnel. It was very dark inside. When the car left the tunnel, Tina was unconscious. They stopped and called an ambulance. Detectives questioned all passengers. What were you doing when you were in the tunnel? Alex was listening to music with headphones on and didn't hear anything. Bobby was sleeping and saw nothing. Diana was focused on the road because it was raining and she had to drive carefully. Who is lying? Diana. It wasn't raining inside the tunnel. Lily got lost in a forest. She got thirsty, but there were no lakes or rivers around her. What should Lily do? Use the flesh of a cactus, collect water from leaves using a plastic bag, or drink from a dirty puddle? Cactus flesh has toxic elements dangerous for humans. Plus, what a weird cactus it is. These guys don't really grow in forests. Water from the puddle probably contains many bacteria, so the safest option is to collect water from leaves. Bill got lost in a forest. He doesn't have a lighter or matches. Help Bill to build a fire. He should use his glasses as a lens, direct sunlight onto dry grass, and wait until it lights up. He can also try rubbing a branch against another branch, but this process may take hours. Bob woke up in a creepy basement with 3 doors. There was a woman behind each of them. Can you help Bob find a safe way? Can you see animal claw traces? There's a wild animal behind this door. And the second woman doesn't look safe either. She has spiders in her hair. The third woman is the safest option, even though she looks like a witch. Kim and Stacy went hiking in a forest. They stopped for the night, and Stacy went to collect some berries. Suddenly, a witch appeared out of nowhere and turned Stacy into stone. Kim got nervous and went looking for Stacy, but she met the witch instead.
I turned your friend into stone. Find the right stone and pour this potion. It will turn your friend back to human.
The witch said these words and disappeared. Can you help Kim to save Stacy? There shouldn't be any grass under a real big stone. Meanwhile, Sarah has only been a stone for a few hours. Therefore, we need a stone with some grass underneath. Voila! It was Jerry's birthday. He brought a big box with chocolate cakes to treat his friends from college. When the class was almost over, Jerry went to the bathroom. He was so excited to celebrate and share treats with his friends, but the box was empty when he returned. Help Jerry find out who has eaten all the cakes. This lady over here seems pretty suspicious. Is this chocolate on her cheek? Let's challenge your color perception. What colors should you mix to get green? The correct answer is B. What colors should you mix to get orange? The correct answer is B. What color should you mix to get pink? The correct answer is A. Look at this picture. We can see Josh falling into a black hole while his colleague Jill is screaming for help. But the very next day, Josh has returned to the space station. How is this possible? It was April Fool's Day, and the astronauts decided to play a trick on Jill. Lisa told a police officer that her house had been robbed. The most expensive painting was hanging above the bed, but now it's gone. The officer asked, "Have you touched anything here?" And Lisa said, "No." The policeman recorded Lisa's story, and he looked around the house and arrested her for fraud. Why? The blanket is in perfect order. If someone had removed the picture from the wall, they would have gotten on the bed. There are 3 options: a desert with a couple of cacti, a sunny meadow with an apple and a glass of water, and a sea beach with sharp rocks. 1 bucket, 1 glass, and some plastic bags. Which place would you choose? There's no water in the desert, and cacti might be toxic. You can't survive on 1 apple and 1 glass of water, but the beach is a great choice. It will provide you with food, and you can prepare fresh water using the stuff on the shore. Put a cup into a bucket. Pour seawater close it with a plastic bag and place a little stone in the middle, and leave it out in the sun for a while, and it will get fresh water. Detective Fred was found unconscious. According to doctors, he was poisoned. The suspects are Helen, Nick, Jane, and Dan. Before the accident, Fred circled numbers in his calendar: 12, 4, 11. Who poisoned him? It was Dan. Fred encrypted the answer using the first letters of each month. Kelly and Sarah gathered together for a cozy sleepover. Sarah opened a dating app and showed Kelly messages from 3 guys. She asked Kelly to help her choose a good guy. Andrew just bought a new car and offered Sarah to have a ride. Rick sent a picture from an airport and said his boss had sent him on a business trip. Will said he lived alone in a country house. Who is lying? Rick has 2 tickets in his pocket, and Will doesn't live alone. There are 2 phones and sunglasses on the table. Therefore, Kelly chose to date Andrew.